It all began in Clearwater, Florida, where some 46 players tuned up under Maestro Dallas Green, the newest man in the Phillies conductor's chair.
It's like the Boston Symphony Orchestra. You have a bunch of fabulous musicians, but if you don't have a maestro to put them all together and let them make their music and make that sound come out right, then the musicians are lost. And I think this year Dallas is the kind of maestro the ball club has been looking for. And I think with his leadership and the ability to take our talents and give it direction, I think we're absolute favorites this year.
If we get in the habit to bust our ass out of home plate and run the first, even if we're out, it sets a pattern for the Phillies of 1980.
And while springtime usually ensures optimism throughout baseball, in Clearwater, Florida in '80, there was a far more ominous climate.
In the mid-'70s, we had a tough time closing the deal in the National League Championship Series.
Griffey swings, slow shot for right side. Here comes Concepcion, and the 1976 pennant belongs to the Reds.
The city was just starved for winning baseball.
And this ball is trapped by Luzinski. It's a double for Matty Mota.
We lost the National League Championship 3 years in a row.
And this league championship series belongs to the Los Angeles Dodgers.
That team had so much disappointment, and the fans were getting tired of them not being able to succeed.
Shoot! You guys shoot!
They needed to get to the World Series that year because they'd had the disappointments in '76, '77, '78.
This year, there's probably more pressure on our ball club than ever because we've been told by the front office that if they don't do it this year, they're going to have to break up the ball club.
A year earlier, free agent Pete Rose had been brought in.
I know when we played them in '76, they had a lead against us in a couple of the games in the playoffs. They just lacked that killer instinct.
Despite Pete's .331 average in '79, the three-time defending NL East champs finished a disappointing fourth, prompting another move.
At the end of the season, they fired Danny Ozark, and they brought in Dallas Green to evaluate the team the last month of the season.
All the club really loved Danny Ozark. They didn't care for Dallas Green at all.
No, I'm not going to make you hit and run all the time, sweetheart.
I made things a little tough for him.
Dallas looked at that group and thought they were way too comfortable, way too satisfied for a team that had never won a postseason series. And that's what he set out to change.
After missing the playoffs in '79 by a game and a half, the Houston Astros were not on the fence concerning expectations for 1980.
We're not here to win the pennant, we're here to win the World Series.
Going in, we felt like we had a chance. They'd made a couple additions that had made us a little deeper.
One such change was free agent Joe Morgan, highly credentialed with 2 MVP awards and World Series rings with the Big Red Machine.
We hadn't won, and Joe was a proven winner. I think more than anything, he brought the winning way to our ball club.
While the Morgan signing added stability, the addition of Nolan Ryan as the first ever $1 million a year player brought big-time credibility to the emerging Astros.
Put him with J.R. Richards, you got two of the best throwers in the business.
J.R., along with Nolan Ryan, were the two great power pitchers in Major League Baseball, and J.R. might have had the larger fear factor.
Coming off 4 consecutive seasons of at least 18 wins and 2 straight years with more than 300 strikeouts, Richard indeed cast a long shadow.
When I'm out there, it's my turn. I'm going out there to win.
I think I would have struck out 300 batters next 4 or 5 years because I was increasingly getting better. My control was getting better, and I was learning how to pitch a lot better.
With 21-game winner Joe Niekro and his knuckleball between flamethrowers Richard and Ryan, the Astros' starting pitching appeared to be top flight. LA was coming off an uncharacteristic subpar season as they finished 11.5 games off the NL West pace. That didn't sit well with the Dodgers.
I'm looking forward to 1980. I want to dismiss '79 from my mind and my memory.
The Dodgers were hopeful that their tenured infielder Steve Garvey, Davey Lopes, Bill Russell, and Ron Say, now entering their 7th straight full year together, would anchor another drive to the pennant.
The one thing I remember from 1980 team was an extraordinarily talented team with a great blend of veterans with a lot of young talent coming in.
Of that young talent, 22-year-old reliever Steve Howe stood out the most due to his electrifying stuff.
Steve came from AA baseball in 1979 to spring training, and I don't think anyone hit a loud foul ball off him in spring training. It was unbelievable.
Howe jumped out of the gate with a win and 3 saves in April, on his way to an eventual Rookie of the Year award. But that performance paled in comparison to what J.R. Richards' opening month would produce.
When we faced the Dodgers and J.R. was pitching, we knew it was going to be an easy game for him because Tommy kept all those right-handers in the lineup, and it was like a hot knife going through butter. He threw a one-hitter at him one time.
The one-hitter was Richards' second April win versus L.A. For the month, he had 48 strikeouts in just 37 2/3 innings.
He was on track to have his best season yet, which is really saying something.
Another pitcher making a loud statement was the Phillies' Steve Carlton.
When your ace, your horse, your #1 starter is on the mound, everybody feels good about winning.
May of '80 had many winning days for Carlton as he went 6-1 for the month to up his record to 9-2, a mark that ballooned to 14-4 by the All-Star break. Joining him on the pitching staff was the team's emotional leader and relief ace, Tug McGraw.
He would hit his heart with his glove and smile, and he had a twinkle in his eye. And he was very successful.
Success was contagious in '80, and Mike Schmidt found a way to take his punishing offense to yet another level.
That was the point after about 7 years in the league that Mike became actually a good hitter, understanding his strengths, not just the home runs.
May was especially sweet for Mike Schmidt. 12 homers and 29 RBIs to give him Major League lead.
Despite the individual efforts, the Phils trailed the Pirates at the end of May by a game in a division that would go down to the wire.
The stretch by Rogers, the 2-2 pitch. Swing and a long drive, deep left field, out of here, home run the ball.
On opening night, the Phillies were a picture of good health. There was new spirit in the ranks, and Larry Bowa's ever-present determination was evidence of one very important thing. This was not a dying baseball team. This was Dallas Green's kind of team. Disciplined in fundamentals, sound in execution, and always willing to get down and dirty. Like all Philly teams of recent years, the 1980 club was outstanding in the field. Mike Schmidt and Gary Maddox won Gold Gloves, while everybody made the plays. Year in and year out, no team in baseball plays better team defense than the Phillies.
As baseball paused for its midsummer classic, the eyes of the nation focused on the game's most dominant pitcher.
From the Houston Astros, J.R. Richards.
He was the best pitcher in both leagues at that time.
J.R. Richards warmed up at about 95 miles an hour. Big kick. Whoa, what a bullet.
The radar guns at All-Star time had him up over 100 miles an hour.
The pitch to Fisk, gone. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was a fastball at better than 100 miles an hour.
JR just lit up the guns. He lit up the world of everything going on Major League Baseball-wise at the time.
When I went out there, a little jittery first time being in the All-Star game, then I began to relax as the game progressed, and I felt a lot better.
The fact that JR felt good after his All-Star appearance added more uncertainty to Richard's earlier claims of not feeling well physically.
He has been experiencing stiffness in his right forearm. He uses the word fatigue to describe it.
Around May, he started mentioning that his arm was starting to feel dead and he was losing the feeling of the ball in his hand at times.
Beginning in mid-June, Richard began pulling himself out of games with varying complaints, leading to some lingering questions.
People were saying that he was jaking on us, but I knew JR wanted to be a big part of our winning. I'm sure he wanted to be out there for us, and it was a shame to see what happened.
JR made his next, and what proved to be his final, start of 1980, 6 days after the All-Star game. He exited in the 4th inning, and 2 days later joined the disabled list with a tired arm.
Said to myself, what is wrong? What is wrong? So I just continued to throw the ball, and it just kept getting increasingly worse.
On July 30th, while testing his condition, J.R. Richard collapsed, suffering a life-threatening stroke.
It was just devastating to the team. Everybody thought the world of JR. He was our ace, and we just felt it was a dagger to the heart.
Even despite a batting average some 60 points lower than last year, will probably get more RBIs this year. Line drive left field. Lacy drops it. Lacy lost it in the lights. Maddox scores. Moon to second base, and it's a 2-2 ball game.
On this particular night in September, Bobby Wine gave the sign, and Philly fundamentals buried the Bucks.
Pitch on the way to Booney. He drops the bunt. It's fielded by the pitcher. Throw to the plate. Throw is wild. Phillies win the game. A heap at the plate as Maddox comes sliding into what?
For the Pittsburgh Pirates, the season was over. For the Philly faithful, it was just getting interesting.
As late as September 16th, the Expos were in first place by 2.5 games. The question was, were the fighting Phils capable of fighting back?
The 80 team really didn't love each other. The hitters didn't like the pitchers didn't like the hitters, so it was kind of a Peyton place in the clubhouse, and Dallas Green had a very firm hand.
Come on, let's go. Come on now.
We had a lot of ups and downs in August, and Dallas read the riot act a few times during that 6-week period.
We still only got one hit, man. Let's go.
I was irate because the guys really never bought into the fact that they had the talent, but they were talking the talk and they just weren't walking the walk. I was convinced that unless something drastic happened, we were going to go back into the doldrums again. I wasn't about to let that happen.
The fact that with a week to go in the season, Dallas Green could bench Greg Luzinski, Bob Boone, and Gary Maddox was incredible.
Hey, good inning, Bobby. Come on.
He was going to do whatever he felt he needed to do to win.
Case in point was September call-up Marty Bystrom. Green started him 5 times and was rewarded as the rookie went 5-0 with a 1.50 ERA.
He brought that to the table in September, and we would not have won without Marty Bystrom pitching the way he pitched.
The same could be said about Mike Schmidt. In August and September, he belted 17 homers, raising his total to 44, and fulfilling the expectations that Pete Rose had for him.
He started talking about me as the greatest player he'd ever played against and with, because he knew that that made me feel like Superman. And the more he could make me feel like Superman, the better player I'd become, and obviously the better the team would become.
The Astros took their act on the road and struck gold in San Francisco, where fans got a taste of Texas, while the Astros got a taste of the strange winds of Candlestick Park. The Giants took the opener, but in the second contest, Jeff Leonard pinch hit with the game tied in the 9th and tipped the scales in favor of Houston. Given a 3-2 lead, Joe Sambito finished the job with his 17th save, and it was Houston's 32nd one-run victory and a tie for first. In the wrap-up game, starter Vern Rule, making a great recovery from early season back surgery, ruled out giant bids for a base hit inning after inning. The no-hit effort was also kept alive by Cesar Cedeno. But with 2 outs in the 8th inning, pinch hitter Jim Wolford was sent up to try to tarnish Rule's golden gem. The no-hitter was no more, and later even became a 3-hitter. But Rule and the Astros still prevailed 5-1. For Vern Rule, a 10-4 record after entering the year 30-38 lifetime. And for Houston, first place in the National League West. Over in the National League East, the Philadelphia Phillies also moved into first, building momentum on a sunny weekend at Chicago's Wrigley Field against the Cubs, who raised a few eyebrows by beating the Phillies in the opener. But the Cubs couldn't quite generate the power the next 2 games. Pete Rose took a friendly slap on the head and then slapped the ball around the park while the Cubs kicked in with some clumsy fielding, giving Philadelphia a few too many extra bases. Everyone had to watch their heads. Manager Dallas Green watched with satisfaction as rookie Marty Bystrom raised his fledgling record to a perfect 3-0, all during the September pressure cooker. And veteran Dick Ruthven raised his mark to 16-10. Both games were 7-3 wins, powered by that old 1-2 punch. A healthy Greg Luzinski stroked number 18. MVP candidate Mike Schmidt socked numbers 40 and 41, later adding 42 and 43 as Philadelphia yo-yoed half a game ahead and then half a game behind Montreal in the National League East.
It was late September of 1980, and the Phillies found themselves in a heated pennant race. Clinging to a half-game lead, they faced a 3-game series against a tough Montreal Expos team. This was a series that could make or break a division championship run. In the first game on September 26th, the score stood tied in the bottom of the 9th when Phillies right fielder Bake McBride came to the plate. And here, I'll let Phillies great Harry Kalas narrate what happened.
Bake McBride stands in. He is singled in 3 at-bats. Here's Palmer's pitch to him. Swing and a long drive. Deep right. It's got a chance. Out of here. Ball game's over. Phillies win 2-1. Bake McBride a home run. Bake McBride bombed at home plate by his teammate.
With a week to play, the Phillies were on top.
As predicted all along, the NL East did come down to October.
Expo number 1. Yeah.
A deciding series between the deadlocked Phillies and Expos, winner take all.
We felt like we had it where we needed it, that it was in our hands and it was in our park.
The feeling that you have, it's almost like it's a World Series. You know that if you beat them 2 out of 3 games, you go on.
For me, it was sort of a defining series in terms of playing under pressure and coming through. We went to Montreal to have to win these 2 games, and I went 6 for 11. Won the first game with a home run, won the second game with a home run.
Long drive to left field, he buried it.
that game, the way they won that game.
That is it. The Phillies have won the title. They came from behind twice in this ball game, and the Phillies are the East Division champions for 1980.
The National League West saw the Astros and Dodgers battle into October.
This has been such a tight one this year, down to the wire where every game is a must-win situation.
The Astros held a 3-game lead on the Dodgers, with the final 3 games of the year slated for Dodger Stadium.
We knew it was going to be tough for us in LA, but we didn't think that we could lose.
Despite the odds, the playoff-tested Dodgers felt up to the task.
Number one, we thought we were better than them in the first place. And number two, we had heard they had champagne on ice. They think they got this one already.
And with Ken Forsch vying for a complete game 2-1 win, the Astros just about did.
The Astros are 2 outs away from the National League West Championship. And Ken Forsch trying to finish them off. Little camper toward Landeskog. He's going to have to go to first, bobbles the ball, and everybody's safe. Runners first and second with 1 out.
1 out later, in a do-or-die situation.
Astros so close they can taste it.
Ron Cey did.
Ground ball through into center field, and we have a tie game.
Which opened the door for Joe Ferguson's 10th inning heroics.
High fly ball deep left center. Cedeno back to the warning track, and the race is still on.
Once that game turned LA's way, the momentum really started to build for the Dodgers, and you had the sense that these guys are not going to cough up a game.
LA now had the momentum as they would sweep the 3-game series.
We actually had the lead in all 3 games, and it was kind of devastating. We had to play an extra game. Game 163.
The 5th National League playoff ever did nothing to rattle the sliding Astros.
Nuxie was our pitcher. We all felt great with Nuxie. He was going for number 20 that day.
And for the 2nd straight year, he got it, as Niekro closed out the Dodgers with a 7-1 complete game win.
Bouncing ball to the right side. Bergman has it, steps on first, and the Astros have won the National League West. The exultant Astros going on to Philadelphia.
Live from Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia, the Eastern champion Phillies host the Western champion Astros. All right, the crowd is still coming in to Vet Stadium. All the tickets have been sold, and it will be filled with partisanship tonight because they are so hungry for a win here. It is time now for the ceremonial first pitch. Baseball Commissioner Bowie Kuhn is here. The National League President Chub Feeney is here, and one of the giants in music is here to participate in the first pitch, Mr. Eugene Ormandy, the conductor of the Philadelphia Symphony Orchestra, and I mean truly a giant in music. Here are the Phillies now taking the field. Once they've assumed their positions, we will have the ceremony and the game will begin. Now, the Phillies lost in 4 straight to the Yankees in 1950 in the World Series. They've only been in 2 World Series. In the 3 League Championship Series, they lost to the Dodgers twice, and they lost to Cincinnati in 1 time. And now we are ready for the ceremonial first pitch. Many of you probably have never had the opportunity to see in person and listen to the Philadelphia Symphony. But with that right hand in which he just threw the ball to Bob Boone, he conducted for so many years some of the greatest musicians in all the world. And so we are now ready for the first game of the National League Championship Series, and here, the Houston batting order.
All right, the batting order for the Houston Astros: Landeskog leading off, Enos Cabell batting second, Jose Cruz batting third. Batting fourth, Cesar Cedeno, and hitting in the 5th slot, the big man during the stretch, Art Howe. Gary Woods will be in right field with Carlton pitching, and Pujols will be the catcher. Lewis is a good defensive man. Craig Reynolds, the shortstop, and finally, Kenny Forsch, about whom Don Drysdale told him.
All right, let's look at the Philadelphia defense. The veteran first baseman, Pete Rose. And then moving on to second base, a man who really solidified the right side of that infield, Manny Trio, will be at second base. The shortstop, the veteran Larry Bowa. This is a veteran Philadelphia ball club. At third base, having his finest year ever, Mike Schmidt. In left field, the Bull. He's done a lot with the leather, trying to pick it up with a bat. That is Greg Luzinski. In center field, Gary Maddox, always fleet of foot. And over in right field, also having an excellent year, Bake McBride. And a man who does all the catching of Steve Carlton, the veteran Bob Boone behind the plate. And a man who really should win the Cy Young Award in the National League this year, Steve Carlton on the mound. And you have to be ready, Keith, because he works in a hurry.
There are some, Don, I suspect, that will also nominate this man for the MVP if these Phillies go on to success.
I'm sure they will. And I think that, of course, when you get the two players like that, Mike Schmidt and Steve Carlton, why, that's awful hard to give Steve really both of them because Mike has had such an outstanding year.
Leading off now, as Howard told you, Rafael Landesturi, then comes Enos Cabell and Jose Cruz. Joe Morgan has a strained left knee, and it was very obvious yesterday in the playoff game that Joe was hobbling. He will rest tonight and hopefully come back strong tomorrow. And Joe Morgan, in just a year, has asserted himself, his leadership with this ball club. Of course, when Joe Morgan walks into the clubhouse, there is a whole lot of respect that walks in with him from all quarters. A first pitch of the ball game from lefty Steve Carlton is low inside for ball one. And it's 1-1.
You must keep these Astros off the bases. Landesturi, for instance, has 23 bases stolen on the year.
Hit to the right side, flagged by Rose, one out. So the line drive to the first baseman, Pete Rose, peeled that way by Landesturi, and Cabell comes to the plate.
As you watch Steve Carlton, it's going to be interesting when he establishes his breaking pitch to the right-handed hitters, because it is a wicked breaking pitch, breaking down and in, and when he's right, he will keep it from the knees on in, and he can be awfully tough. He's got an excellent fastball to go with it.
And those of you used to listening to the dulcet tones of Don Drysdale, I'm sure can readily detect he has a cold. Swinging a foul at the plate.
Good old Montreal.
That's because he doesn't travel enough.
I don't know about that.
Strike two on Cabell. Inside. Bob Boone scoops it one-handed, and the count is now 1-2.
I can remember doing the playoff games a few years ago and talked to Steve Carlton, interviewed him at Dodger Stadium, and when the game was over, before he came out to talk on the post-game show, talk about that in a minute.
Bowa at shortstop. High throw, he's safe. Error on the throw.
Now we'll look at this again, but you hear the crowd immediately booing Larry Bowa. There's a background to that will develop during the game.
Well, Larry has been having a little trouble going to his right this year, but that is just an easy play. But he throws it underhand. The ball comes up and just takes off on Rose. It's just kind of like a little ruptured duck going across that infield, and Rose has no chance whatsoever because Cabell has excellent speed.
We have a strain of liberalism showing up from the official scorer. He's given him a hit.
Putting me on.
No. Well, they've changed it now. Came up on the board, hit. To the right side for the second baseman trio. And Jose Cruz is out as Cabell goes to second. Now it is Cesar Cedeno, who I am sure is the best known of all the Houston Astros.
That, of course, relates to his beginning, when many said he would be the next Willie Mays. That's been said before. It was once said about a past Astro, Jimmy Wynn.
But a select few top everyone's list. Leo DeRocha managed a young Willie Mays in New York, then Cesar Cedeno in Houston. A comparison is inevitable.
At this time, Cedeno's 22 years old, and you put Mays back when he was 22 years old, I'd say that Cedeno right now is as good as Willie Mays. In other words, in my opinion, he has a chance to be as good as Willie Mays. I don't think any ball player that I've ever seen can be better than Willie Mays. But Cedeno certainly has all the tools, all the ability to be as good. Now, whether he can continue that way over a course of, let's say, the next 10, 12, 15 years, I don't know. But last year, at the age of 21, he hit 320, hit 20 or 21 home runs, and stole 55 bases. Well, that's quite a record for a boy at 21 years old. So if this boy progresses along the way that Willie Mays did when I had him with the Giants, he can certainly equal the ability of Willie, but I don't think he can be better. In fact, I'm very prejudiced, and to that extent, I think Mays is the best ball player I've ever seen.
If there's another Willie Mays around, I'm glad I'm not playing anymore.
The old-timers game this summer at Shea Stadium, he hit some ropes out of the ballpark. 0-1 to Cedeno. 2 out, and Cavell is at second base. This has been Cesar's first 300 season since 1973. That's a strike. They throw back to second, and Cavell back on his tummy.
There's that breaking pitch to the right-hand hitters, and if Carlton's right, we said before, if he's got his command, you're going to see a lot of check swings. Now let's look at it again. He's got an excellent breaking pitch down and in, and there's that check swing by Cedeno, but he went all the way around, and a good call by the home plate umpire, Bob Engel. They got a good group of National League umpires here. Boy, there's some super ones.
We'll run them down for you just as soon as we have a chance. The 1-1 pitch is hit in the air, foul to the right side and into the crowd. Engel back at the plate, Tata at first, Bruce Froemming second, Doug Harvey third, Ed Vargo left field, Jerry Crawford right field. That's about as good as you can get.
Yes, it is.
1-2 pitch, just missed. 2 balls and 2 strikes with 2 out, and Cavell at second base in the top of the first inning. Carlton fires outside, and now we're at 3-2.
One of the things with Houston winning yesterday that you're going to see, and you're going to see a little consistency, because both ballparks are on the artificial surface, whereas Dodger Stadium is not. So you're going to be able to look at just about the same kind of baseball in both ballparks, although the ball does not carry that well in Houston.
Full count to Cedeno, foul. No, it's off the line. Yep. I thought for a minute it might spin its way back and stay fair. Schmidt was right there, but it's fouled by a yard. Art Howe is on deck. It was Art Howe, the big story offensively yesterday for Houston in Los Angeles. He knocked in 4 runs.
A nice story, too. Art Howe languished, never got in the playoffs when he was with the Pirates, even though the team was in. There's Art Howe. And he's had so many physical setbacks. Nice to see it come to him this year.
Cesar Cedeno with a 3-2 count.
I was talking about Steve Carlton, and we'll get back to that as we move along on that interview.
Checked his swing, took it low for ball 4.
But when I talked to Steve, he said, wait a minute. And he reached in his ears and he pulled out cotton and out of both ears. And I had really never, ever seen a pitcher do that in my life. Now, I can't see that he has any in his ear tonight. Of course, he might have been doing that for the simple reason he was at Dodger Stadium and really in foreign territory.
Here is Art now. You see the numbers for him on the season. 4 of those RBIs came yesterday. Carlton is high and away to Art Howe for ball 1. Enos Cavell is at second base, and Cesar Cedeno at first base. They are both swift. 2 out. Ball 2.
You mentioned cotton earplugs, John. For the last couple of years, Carlton's been using cotton earplugs. He uses them so he won't get rattled. He blocks everything out. Concentration is his game.
Ball 3.
I might add, Keith, that several other Philadelphia pitchers are now using those cotton plugs. They'd like to have Carlton's success. When you pitch with the arm, not with the plugs.
That's right. There's sometimes I would have liked to use them just to get the rattle of the bat off my brain.
Green light on 3-0, and couldn't come up with it.
Well, there's the confidence that Bill Verdon has in this man right here. He hit one out yesterday, and boy, that was a big home run. Got a high breaking pitch. And that gave the Houston Astros at that time the 4-0 lead.
I tell you, Art didn't get cheated that time. He had a full swing. 3-1. He's got another one. They snap a throw to first. Rose rolling around. Pete can't play till he gets his pitches dirty anyhow.
There was an excellent play by Pete Rose because that had all indications of at least first and third. Now look at it again. Booney coming out and throwing a little bit across his body. Rose forgetting all about the tag. He says, I've got to catch the ball. That ball goes down the right field line, and that's exactly what you have, runners at first and third. The runner at first, Cedeno, could not have gone to second because McBride very alertly was backing up the play.
The instinctive play that goes with experience. 3-2 the count. And Howe strikes out. And so the Houston Astros lead 2 in the top of the first inning. And Steve Carlton takes a little while to get warmed up and find the strike zone. Nothing for Houston. The Phillies coming up in inning number 1.
Starting lineup for the Phils, leading off the irrepressible one, Pete Rose. Batting second, coming off a big year, Bake McBride. Coming off a tremendous year, Mike Schmidt. Coming off a bad year, Greg Luzinski. And coming off a big year, Manny Trio. Gary Maddox back in the lineup tonight. He's had troubles with the manager. Larry Boa hitting next. Then comes Bob Boone, who fell to 229 this year. And, of course, the last man, the first man, Steve Carlton.
Well, we'll now take a look at the Astro defense from first to third. It is Howe, Landestoy, Reynolds, and Cabell. The outfield from left to right will be Cruz, Cedeno, and Woods, and the battery of Pujols and Force. That's the starting battery. There's right-hander Ken Force, a record of 12 wins and 13 losses. That might be a little deceiving because his earned run average is really not that bad, 3.16.
Force is 34 years of age with the Houston organization since he first signed back in 1968. He came to the majors 2 years after signing, and he's been under a number of different managers in Houston. Harry Walker for one, Leo DeRocher, Preston Gomez, and now Bill Burton. So Ken Force is ready to pitch to Pete Rose, and Pete missed his annual 200 hits this year, and he, for a change, didn't hit 300 either. But when money marbles and chalk were on the table in the first 2 games in Montreal, this man was on base 6 times in those 2 games. Luis Pujols back at the plate, catching Force, and the first pitch of the ball game by the Houston right-hander is high to Pete Rose for ball 1.
That is the correct language pronunciation, by the way, Pujols.
Bites the inside corner with that fastball to make it 1-1. He's pretty sneaky fast, isn't he, Don?
He is sneaky fast, and he's got excellent control. I don't think he's walked 80 men in the last couple of years.
Fastball coming in, 86, but he gives you that smooth, easy motion and just pops it at you. That one didn't get the inside corner. And Pete turns around and I'm sure says, Bob Engel says, that's where the oven was, Bob. 2-1, the count. Foul right into Luis' glove. It's 2-2.
Give you a little idea about Force. They call him the machine, and his velocity is pretty good. He really doesn't beat himself that much in reasoning because he gets the ball over the plate. He doesn't walk a lot of people. This year walked only 41 people. He worked in 223 innings. That tells you a little story right there.
Rose fouls it away, and the count holds at 2-2.
You'll rarely see Kenny Force shake off the catch. His emphasis is on change of speed, and quite simply, he likes to keep the ball in play.
Fouled off again. 2-2.
We've been doing quite a few of the National League games over the last few weeks, and a chance to look at these Philadelphia Phillies quite a bit. I believe, Keith, that this is probably the outfield that Houston puts out there. That's the shallowest of any outfield that we've seen so far.
Yep. Really are shallow. That's popped up, and it's again going to go back in the crowd out of play.
I would disagree, Mr. Drysdale. The shallowest playing outfield I have seen in the majors belongs to the Oakland A's.
Well, the only reason I said that because I was talking about the National League. And as today, Oakland was still in the American League.
I suppose.
Under new ownership.
Before Martin's done, he'll have him in both leagues.
Foul back into the crowd, and that one really whistled back in there. Another foul. I'll tell you one thing, though, about playing shallow outfield in this ballpark. When that thing gets on this rug and gets going, it goes in a hurry, and it can run to the wall really quick on you. That's the gamble you have to take right there, Keith, and you have to have the speed in the outfield to do it. If there's going to be anybody that's probably the deepest of the three, is Gary Woods and Wright, but Cedeno and Cruz are very shallow. They play rows to hit to the opposite field.
He's fouled off 5 straight pitches, and that makes 6. So Pete's getting forced nice and loose. 2-2 to Pete. Skips back. It is fouled off, however. Just nipped the bat. 8 in a row. Tells you something about force, though. He's in the zone.
He isn't giving in.
No, he's not. Gets up that time to make it 3 balls and 2 strikes.
You know, Howard, it's a funny thing about travel, and I'm sure when you say travel, you and Keith know this as well as anybody, as much traveling that you two do. But as a professional athlete going into a town, sometimes as you lose time, which the Houston Astros did coming from Los Angeles East, it's not today, but it's possibly tomorrow, the second day that catches up with you.
That's Bill Burden's story.
3-2 to Rose. Fouled off. That's 9 or 10 or 12 or 14. Once we get to double figures, we'll quit counting. 3-2. Hit on the ground to the shortstop Reynolds. It throws him out. And Pete had a career to lead off the top of the first, bottom of the first. Look around Vet Stadium here to give you some idea of what it is in the various corners. It is 330 down the line, 371 to left and right, and 408 to straightaway center. Pretty ballpark, and you don't have a whole lot of wind trouble in this particular ballpark.
Not really, Keith, but the ball carries pretty good. It's a fair ballpark, but the hitters, you don't see them complaining too much, especially when you look at the power alleys at 371.
McBride's most productive season ever. He has 87 runs batted in. And the pitch, ball 1 to Bake. And it's a particularly strong year, considering the fact that during last off-season, the Phillies came very close to trading. Texas and San Diego both expressed interest, and the trade was almost consummated. But fortunately for the Phillies, it did not happen. And it's looped to right, base hit.
When you've got a man that has the control factor of Tim Force, and here you get a standing ovation for Mike Schneid. He's had himself quite a year, but he'll be the first one to tell you that if they don't win it, he said, it doesn't mean a thing.
There are some who call Mike the icicle in Philadelphia, but what I think he does in some ways is to insulate himself from the hoopla and go about practicing his trade. The man who hit 48 home runs to set a new major league record for third baseman this year takes the first pitch in there for strike 1, and he hit, as you see, 11 of those big ones in the first inning.
That's one of those records that may go unnoticed, and yet it's one of the hardest ones to establish, I think. Eddie Matthews had 47 in the American League. Al Rosen had 43 and 53, and that still stands.
A 1-strike count on Mike Schmidt with Greg Luzinski on deck, 1 out, and Bake McBride at first, and the count is 1-1.
When you get against a pitcher like Force, as I started to say just before McBride got his base hit, it's the same like Robin Roberts or Warren Spahn or people like that that have real good control. You may as well go to swinging. They're not going to really throw too many balls. They're not going to walk too many people, and you don't want to really give them that chance to start working on you.
McBride gets a foot on the rug. Schmidt takes the pitch low and away. Now let me tell you a little subtle nuance about Force on the mound. During the course of the season, base runners have been successful stealing 21 times against Force. Only 6 of them have been caught who tried. So 21 out of 27 were successful. The pitch is high to Schmidt. The count 3 balls and a strike.
Meanwhile, he's throwing a lot of pitches for the first inning. It took him 16 pitches to dispose of Pete Rose. This accumulates, catches up with you in the middle innings.
It can take it a little bit out of you, Howard. Of course, somewhere along the line, you're liable to get an inning where you throw maybe 5 or 6 pitches and get out of it. You hope for those.
This will be his 23rd pitch. Schmidt went far enough to make it 3 balls and 2 strikes. Turns to Bob Engel and inquires as to whether or not it was a good pitch.
And he didn't come back with a fastball either. He came back with a breaking pitch. He was not going to just say, here's the cripple 3-1, go ahead and hit it. Not to Mike Schmidt, you don't do that. Mike has changed his stance a little bit. He has moved off of the plate. When you had Mike Schmidt a few years ago, if there was a place to pitch Mike, it was inside. Any power hit, you like to try and keep him tied up a little bit. You don't want him to extend those arms. He is backed off and he's driving the ball to all parts of the ballpark.
On the 3-2 pitch, the fastball, and he struck him out for the second out of the inning.
What's that tell you right there about Dallas Green by not even sending the runner at first base, McBride? He's got a little respect for this guy right here, too, out on the mound.
Luzinski. Greg comes to the plate at 228 on the season. The last 2 years have been painful, difficult years for this big man.
Don't make a mistake, though. Not with him.
Foul back to the screen. He came 20 pounds lighter this year to spring training. He had worked very, very hard with Billy DeMars in the offseason. Surgery on his right knee. He was out for 45 games. That dimmed his hopes for the season. Another check swing foul. So the advantage to Force. McBride at first. Got a rug, got a foot on the rug, and he's going, and it's fouled off. Or did it skip away? It was skipping away from the catcher. Luzinski did hold in time. And it's McBride at second with his stolen base. Boy, he had a jump on fourth.
He had a jump. He couldn't have thrown him out with a shotgun right there. No way.
But there are 2 out, and the important man for Force right here is Luzinski. Struck him out, so Ken Force in the first inning strikes out 2 Phillies. The Phillies leave McBride at second after 1 at Bet Stadium. No score. To the top of the second inning we go with Gary Woods, Luis Pujols, Greg Reynolds. For the Houston Astros, Woods purchased from Tucson, AAA, 31st of August. He stepped in, and he's done a terrific job for Billy Burton.
He's a typical Astro prospect because he's not a power hitter. He's another one who's designed for the Astrodome. He hits the ball to the gaps, and at Tucson, elected to call ball. He led the Pacific Coast League in doubles, Keith, with 42.
A 315 batting average. To the hole, base hit. Gary Wood starts off, and I'm going to ask you, does Carlton look sharp done?
I don't believe he does. Not yet he hasn't, Keith.
He struck out 1 to end the first inning, and Art Howe. He was not responsible for Cabell getting on the error. He did walk Cedeno. I think what you mean is he's not spotting that ball where he'd like.
He's been off a little bit on his breaking pitch. He's thrown some good breaking pitch down and in, but when he has a consistency on that breaking pitch, he can be double tough. Now we got to watch him. He's had 11 balks called on him. That was last season. That was a major league record.
Pujols makes it for ball.
You majored in Spanish, didn't you?
No. Oh, living in Southern California. Get acquainted. It's either. Go to first. Woods diving back in.
He's close. You got to keep an eye on that left-hander's right leg. It can't come behind the rubber. He holds a little bit, which is very smart for a left-hand pitcher.
Ball is fouled off, back, and in the crowd.
If you're a runner at first and you get a left-hand pitcher out there, you just can't commit yourself that soon.
Luis married a week ago Sunday. Got a chance to put some shekels in the bank with the third baseman. Over to second, one, and that's it. Woods went looking for Trio, and he's big enough, sort of takes him out of the play with no chance on Pujols.
Well, Mike Schmidt knows that he has it on the short hop. He's got one play. That's to Manny Trio at second base. And the runner, Woods, staying within his legal sliding rights. And the second base umpire right there, Bruce Fromming, to make the call. You've got to stay within that body length.
Greg Reynolds came over to Houston from Seattle. He's been under, in fact, it was under 200 in his batting average the first 3 months. Went on a weight program over the winter, wanted to extend his strength with the bat, become a little stronger, get a few extra bases, but it really didn't work for him. He hasn't done terribly well against lefty Carlton either, has he? But then he's got a lot of company. Big Bender inside.
He doesn't have Alan Ashby's out. Allen is benched tonight. Lefties destroy him by his own admission. In fact, he started this year going back to switch hitting, but he has no confidence at the plate hitting right-handed.
Swing and a miss, snap throw to first, and Pujols is back. The pitcher, Forsch, is on deck for Houston. Astros up, top of the second inning, no score in the ball game. 2-1 the count now to Craig Reynolds. The Astros shortstop. 2-2. Got him. And he made Reynolds look like an intimidated hitter there.
He sure did. There wasn't much of a swing, was it?
No, it wasn't. He got that breaking pitch down and away, and it's tough to hit when you're running at the same time.
Ken Forsch with a .234 batting average, as you see. Helped himself with 8 RBIs.
This fella can fool you. He doesn't swing a bad bat.
You see, Brother Bob did all right with the bat, too. Does annually. To the right side, base hit. And it almost popped Pujols in the head as Luis was looking for it. Went right past his ear in the right field for a base hit.
Well, Carlton gets the pitch up over the plate, and all that Forsch does is lay the bat on the ball. Pujols can't go to third. He knows that. He lets the ball go by, and he just advances 90 feet.
So the Houston starting battery is on the bases. The catcher at second, the pitcher at first, with 2 out. And here's Rafael Landeskog coming up for the second time against Steve Carlton.
Pretty good year against Philadelphia pitching this year. 294, 10 hits.
So in the first 2 innings of play, the Astros have had 2 runners on in the first and again here in the second. That's tapped to Schmidt. Schmidt goes easily to second to Trio to get Forsch coming down and retire the side. The Astros have now stranded 4 after 1.5. There is no score in Philadelphia. Ken Forsch is on the mound for the Houston Astros to pitch to Manny Trio, Gary Maddox, and Larry Boa. His brother Bob is a right-hander for the St. Louis Cardinals. Kenny has a box of T-shirts, and he wears them regularly, saying, "I'm not Bob, I'm Ken." He threw a lot of pitches. As a matter of fact, Pete Rose fouled off, I think it was 10 of them before he finally got him to lead off the bottom of the first inning. McBride singled against him, stole second, but then he struck out. Mike Schmidt swinging and Greg Luzinski swinging to end the bottom of the first. He's thrown 28 pitches in the ball game. That is, he threw 28 pitches to the plate in that first inning.
That's a lot.
It is. Philly fanatic roaming the crowd, having some laughs. 3-0 at 292 on the year. Solid man, but he did drop a little pop in that Montreal circumstance. It got them all excited, and there's a long drive hit to left field. Cruz back and makes the catch, and there is a perfect example of why the Astros feel they can play a shallow outfield. Really quick in the outer defense. This telecast presented by authority of Major League Baseball, intended solely for the private non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of Major League Baseball is prohibited.
Now, Keith, here's Gary Maddox. Some wondered if he'd start tonight. He didn't start any of the last 7 games of the season, and that caused a breach with his manager.
That's fouled off. We were here a week ago Sunday in a ball game won by Montreal. Maddox lost the ball in center field in the sun. Did not make the play on it, and it was part of a big outburst by Montreal that led them to the easy win. Gary took some heat for that. Of course, many of you remember the ball he dropped against the Dodgers in the playoff series. That is high and shallow to left for Cruz, and Jose has 2 putouts. Dallas Green said following the ball game that Maddox did not use sunglasses on that day, and that's a prime reason why he got a little heat not making the play. But when things ultimately work out, and the sum total is the bottom line, the Phillies are in the playoffs. Maddox is in center field tonight. Larry Bowa, the shortstop, up with 2 down. That's foul.
Well, just going a little bit further on that about Dallas Green. Dallas has really set his own standards as far as coming in the managership this year. He knows that he's got a job in the front office. That's where he came from, and he did a very successful job there. He set up his own thing. There's Dallas. And he said, "You're going to do it my way, guys." That's all there is to it.
In the hole, punched to left by Bowa for a base hit. Cabell made a diving try, but couldn't reach it.
And I think that's the only way that you've got to be, because how many times do you see it written in the paper? You look at the fastball out over the plate, Bowa just sprays it around and hits it by the third baseman, Cabell. But everyone, it's the old cliche that people have said, the writers have written, the broadcasters have talked about. You don't fire 25, you fire only 1, and that's the manager. And I think Dallas felt, if that's the way it's got to be, if I'm going to go, regardless of what happens this year, we're going to go doing it my way, and I don't care how long you've been here. This is the way we're going to do it. It's not an I team, it's a we team.
Bob Boone, Philly catcher at the plate, and they pitch out on Bowa. Ball 1.
Well, the players had strong feelings about Dallas Green. You'll hear some of them, I trust, during the course of the contest, if situation and time permits. Permit, plural.
Punch to the right side for a base hit. The Phillies' attack right now looks like Houston's. 2 out and 2 on.
Well, this guy isn't a patsy either.
No, he's not. Steve Carlton is a very good hitting pitcher. As you look at the Philly fanatic down in the stands, and I'm sure that that's what Pujols is going to go out and talk to Forsch about. Say, hey, let's not get careless with this guy. You make a mistake, although he has not hit a home run this year, he does have some in his career, and he can lose it for you.
After Bob Forsch had thrown his 28 pitches in the first inning, the first 3 Phillies up here in the bottom of the second swung at the first pitch in this inning. So he's still in the strike zone, and he goes to strike 1 on Carlton.
Well, that's what I was commenting on before, Keith, is when you have a man that has that kind of control, there's no need sitting around waiting for him. I mean, he's going to get 2 strikes on you if you do that. Then you hit his pitch.
Strike 2. Larry Bowa at second base, Bob Boone at first base, 2 down. 1915, the Phillies lost in the World Series to Boston, 5-1. Lost in 1954-0 to the New York Yankees. Only 2 times they've been in the series. Fouled at the plate, held by the catcher, and Carlton is gone on the strikeout. That's 3 for Forsch in the ball game. So the Phillies lead 2. After 2 innings of play, there is no score.
Enos Cabell coming to the plate. He has dedicated this series to J. Rodney Richard. He tells why.
Well, he's my man. He's become almost like my brother. And after he got sick and had the stroke, I didn't play too good, and I think I hurt our team for about 2 weeks because I didn't play good. But after he got where he was well enough and he was strong enough where he could talk and, you know, communicate with me again, I started playing better. It was just like a whole load lifted off of me.
How much does he mean to the whole team, in addition to the very special feeling you have for him?
Well, if we had him, we'd have won the championship on the West a long time ago, but we didn't, and it's just something that you have to go through, and we wish we had him, but we don't, and you can't look back at that, and you just have to go out and play as hard as you can, and we've done that, and we proved to a lot of people that we are a good team, and they have to respect us.
Pre-game comments of Enos Cabell, who has just hit a high fly ball to center field for the first out here in the third inning. Jose Cruz, who is a very dangerous fellow at the plate. Pitch is low. Cruz at 302 and 91 runs batted in. He is a fine young athlete. Swing and a miss at that slider, snapping off to make it 1-1.
There's an old saying in baseball, and I think Jose Cruz fits it perfectly. You look to left, swing to center, and hit to right. You might look to right, swing to center, and hit to left.
That's a good line. He does hit it everywhere.
Everywhere.
That's his trademark. Little Chio.
Use the lines, use the whole field, and you can be successful, and he certainly is.
His manager says he's the team's MVP. 2 balls and 2 strikes. It's his third 300-plus season, his 4th season with over 30 stolen bases. Oh, ricochets it off Steve Carlton over to Pete Rose. Rose has no chance, and now is lefty all right. Apparently so. Stands there like a tall oak.
Yes, Keith. As you look at this again.
Well, the pitch was out over the plate. And here's a line drive. It was really down and away from him a little bit, but he got a glove on it. That's self-protection right there. Sometimes you can't hide out there on that mound. Rose just picks it up and has no play.
You mentioned that Bill Burden thinks Chio Cruz is his most valuable player. Maybe Burden, such an understated man, has been one of the most remarkable managers you could ever want to see this year. The way he held his team together for yesterday's game, Keith, after losing 3 in a row, was really proof of his leadership capacity. I
don't think he raised his voice in the whole 24-hour period until it was done. Cesar Cedeno, the hitter, the number 4 man in the Astro order. No score in the ball game. We're in the top of the 3rd inning. Steve Carlton struggling some in the early going. The Astros have left 4. There's Bill Burden.
There's Bill Burden. He was an anonymously efficient ball player, a great defensive center fielder. Remember in '56 when Bobby Bragan was managing him? He said, "What's this noise about Mantle, Mays, and Snyder? I got the best center fielder, Burden."
1-2 the count to Cedeno. Howell at the plate.
This is not a sharp Steve Carlton. He's left 4 runners on base the first 2 innings. There's a runner on base now with 1 out. But he may find it if he can keep getting away with it in the early innings.
He doesn't have his real good velocity, Howard.
Up the middle it goes. Cruz was not running. He'll have to hold at second.
I think Dallas Green would be the first one to tell you right now that my man lefty does not have his real good stuff tonight. He just does not have velocity, and he does not have location. And when you put those 2 things together, all it does is, if you're in trouble is right. It means one word: struggle.
There is Burden. You'll never see the facial expression change.
He struck out Art Howe. One of his 2 strikeouts. First time up. This is a towering fly ball to the right side for the right fielder, Bake McBride. Cruz bluffs and doesn't go, and McBride's strong throw is evidence of why Jose did not try to move up. 2 down.
And right alongside Billy Burden, there's yesterday's winning pitcher, Joe Niekro.
Boy, wasn't he?
He was something
special yesterday. Gary Woods, the right fielder. He singled his first time up. Pulled it in the hole to left between the third baseman and the shortstop.
If you're the Houston Astros, you hate to see these scoring opportunities just slide by.
Exactly.
You're always sitting back saying, wait until he gets it together. He doesn't have it yet. Let's do something.
Loud call by Bob Engel for strike one.
He had some heat on that pitch.
Foul. Strike two.
There's a pretty good stat right there.
It's sharply to the right side and past Trio and into right field. And the Houston Astros will take the lead in the ball game 1-0 as Cruz scores from second base.
Let me tell you, that kid from Tucson finds the holes as well as the gaps.
In all honesty, I believe that ball has got to be caught.
Yep. I think he should have made the play.
He kind of gave it a little Ole shot to the left side. He can get over there and make a much better play. That ball is hit hard, and you see that he just kind of gave it a howdy-do shot, and all of a sudden he finds himself a run down.
Pujols now, the Houston catcher. Luis aboard on a fielder's choice his first time. And Carlton's pitch is up high. The Astros lead 1-0 in the top of the third inning. And we've got movement in the Philadelphia bullpen. And so far, no one throwing. That's fouled off. The American League begins tomorrow afternoon. Yankees in Kansas City. One more dance. Swing and a miss by Pujols. It'll be at 2:30 Eastern Time. And you'll see it right here on ABC. Billy Martin, Jim Palmer, Del Michaels. Sharply, Schmidt plays it well, whips it over to second, and they get the third out. But the Astros have put themselves on the scoreboard to lead in the middle of the third, 1-0. Feed out to the shortstop after fouling off 10. In for the second time tonight. And that's foul.
Boy, you don't know how big a pain these guys are.
Yeah, but he's a good merchandiser. Think of all the people who are going home happy with Superman.
Well, that's true. That's true, but I'll guarantee you Ken Force wouldn't say that.
Sharply, second baseman, stops it. But Landeskog can't play it. Base hit, throws.
Coming up to bat, Bake McBride singled the first time up. Before the game, I asked Bake to tell me what he thought of his manager, Dallas Green.
Well, you know, on the field, he's a good manager, but, you know, off the field, you know, I could care less about him, really. That's the truth. You know, he's did a good job for us this year, and, you know, I think we all respect him because he is our manager, but as far as everything else, you know, I'd rather not discuss that part.
Sure, there must be a reason. Runner goes, throw to second. No, Rose. Oh, he's out. Great play by Reynolds. It looked like Reynolds was going to have to go airborne to go sailing off into right center field. They pitched out, but the throw was sailing away, and some marvelous gymnastics by Reynolds to get him.
It was. They were guessing a right all the way. Now, Pujols takes a little time, and his throw starts tailing away. Now, Craig here makes a good play, moving out to the right field side. Then he's got to try and get back for the tag, and a good call by the second base umpire, Bruce Froming.
And now the bases are clean for Bake McBride with a count of ball one.
Well, I would guess that they don't go out and have dinner together then.
No, I would guess. The Bakeroo is a pretty forthright guy. It doesn't make him right. It means he's willing to state what he thinks.
back here. Terry Klein left it.
Well, he's professional enough to say that he's done a good job on the field. You don't have to love everybody off the field.
Said I respect him as a manager.
Exactly.
They fire guys the players love who don't win.
Oh, you're right.
That's fouled away, and your count is 1 ball, 2 strikes on McBride.
There's an interesting addendum to that conversation that we may get to.
That's a big bouncer to the shortstop, Reynolds. And 2 down.
All right, let's get to the rest of that interview with Big McBride. Will he come back, I asked him, if Green comes back?
You know, I enjoy playing here in Philadelphia. You know, I'd like to end my career here, but, you know, I don't know as far as, you know, if he's coming back or not. But if he does come back, you know, I'd have to think about me coming back.
What'd you say, Keith?
We'll see. Mike Schmidt. Sharply to the shortstop, Reynolds. Handles the bullet and throws out Schmidt. And so it's an easy inning, relatively, for Ken Forsch once they got Rose off the bases. And we move along after 3 complete with the Houston Astros leading 1-0. All right, we'll move to the top of the 4th inning for Craig Reynolds, Ken Forsch, and Rafael Landistoi, with the Astros leading over the Phillies and Steve Carlton by a score of 1-0. Carlton with a lifetime record of 28-9 against this Houston franchise. Reynolds struck out swinging first time. And lefty comes high. 1 ball and 1 strike. He is so strong, though. Like Drysdale used to be, you know, throw the ball on the mound, he'd go out, pick it up, and throw it for 9 innings.
The difference is Carlton can pitch.
That shows you our intelligence, right?
1-2.
Well, he can pitch.
That pitch is low and away. Reynolds started and held, and it'll be 2-2.
Now, he's got 249 lifetime wins. He's the all-time left-handed strikeout pitcher in baseball history, and he's 6th on the all-time list. He's done his share.
Just missed with that one. Now you go to a full count of 3-2.
You're eligible next year, aren't you?
Eligible? Oh, yes.
Oh, stop. You know what I'm talking about.
Well, I wasn't sure.
A lot of teams need tight ends and offensive tackles. You know? Missed outside, so he had Reynolds in a hole 0-2, and he loses him. That is the 2nd walk issued by Steve Carlton.
Well, that's a little tip-off right there. And I know that's got to make Dallas Green just a little uneasy, because now you're in a sacrifice situation. And the top of the order there is coming up Saturday. Keith, you're going to have a fun little trip, aren't you?
Oh, I'd love that one. The sacrifice. Ball bounces at the plate. And it's ball 1. Ken Forsch, the Houston pitcher. Ball is pushed back.
Here.
Mound, and they get a play at first. Steve Carlton could make no play on it. Pete Rose came rushing in to get it. 3-0 covering. The sacrifice works, but it was a little different and had a little drama in it.
Boy, there is a play. Carlton going off to the 3rd base side, Road charging down the line. Now Pete reacts quick enough to go back. Any other time, you might see that just go for a base hit. The pitch is in the air. Rose coming down the line, so he can't pick it off in the air. But Carlton is falling off to the 3rd base side. He gives up on it. Rose very alertly picks it up, and they get Forsch at first base. Boy, that had trouble written all over.
This is the trademark, though, that kind of play of this Houston team. Speed, opportunism, well-versed in the fundamentals.
Now it's an opportunity for Landistoi at the top of the order with Craig Reynolds at 2nd base. It's also, I believe, in this instance, Howard, a team reflecting its manager to a great deal.
Signed a new 3-year contract. He had 5 one-year contracts, living from year to year. Finally got what he deserved. I give the new owner, John McMullen, a lot of credit.
Landeskog hits it sharply. Trio plays this one. Runner moves over. Throw to first. In time to get him 2 out. Reynolds at third. See that lefty Carlton has handled the Astros over the last 5 starts handily. He's been dominant, as a matter of fact, but he's struggling against them tonight. Schneider coming up now, aboard on an error and a fly ball to center field. 75 pitches now for Steve Carlton, and we're in the top of the 4th inning. 2 out. Craig Reynolds off third, and Cabell hits it sharply towards center. Flag down by Trio. Great play by Manny. Ooh. Trio moving to his left. They play on the artificial surface here at the vet in Philadelphia. The ball can turn into a bullet. That time he was secure in getting the play in hand and threw out the runner and stopped the run from third. Greg Luzinski, Manny Trio, and Gary Maddox will come to the plate to hit as you look down on the vet in Philadelphia from our camera aboard a helicopter over the city. It's been a relatively clear 2 days that we have been here so far. The weather quite mild, dipping down into the 40s at night.
Carlton has stranded 7 runners. He's also thrown 76 pitches in 4 innings. Average well-pitched game, total of 115 to 125 pitches.
That's right, Howard. You get down below that, right around the 100 mark, 105. Why, that's kind of a bonus right there, and it should make you feel a lot stronger on your next start.
Greg Luzinski stands in, and Ken Forsch is inside to him for ball 1.
Point is, Houston is losing opportunities every inning.
High fly ball out into short left with the shortstop Reynolds dropping back and making the catch.
Howard, you made an interesting comment a while ago when you talked about the Houston Astros letting opportunities slip by, and that is very true, especially against a man like Steve Carlton. They've left 7 men on base through the first 4 innings. But on the other hand, you've got to look at that man on the center of the diamond right now, Ken Forsch, and say, Kenny, somewhere along the line in your major league career, you're going to have to beat somebody 1-0. Now, he's done that before, and he's certainly capable of doing that tonight.
Manny Trio up. He and Blake McBride have been the most consistent hitters for the Phillies in 1980. Shortstop Reynolds. 2 down.
This game's a lot closer than the last one I worked here. That was Eagles 35, Giants 3.
Harris in the setback now for the Eagles. Jaworski. Oh, what a play. What a play. Oh, what a great play. Jaworski to Charlie Smith. Jaworski going down in the arms of the Giants.
Philly fanatic. Underneath all of that is young David Raymond. Tubby, son, football coach over at Delaware, a few miles from here. A pitch to Maddox. Hit sharply toward the second baseman, Landeskog. Raphael throws him, and it's an economical ending for Mr. Forsch. Very few pitches for Kenny. He walks off after 4, leading 1-0. Air lights of Philadelphia and the surrounding countryside. But the jewel right now in this region is Vet Stadium, with Larry Boa, Bob Boone, and Steve Carlton scheduled. Excuse me, I'm on the wrong side. Jose Cruz, Cesar Cedeno, and Art Howe. And until he squeaks, here's Don Drysdale fighting a cold.
All right, Keith. Jose Cruz is 1 for 2. He singled and has scored the only run of the ball game. Takes the first pitch outside. 1 ball and no strikes. A little bit low, 2-0. The outfield alignment for Jose Cruz. Luzinski towards the line in left. The center fielder Maddox will play him in left center. They will give him the alley in right center. And Blake McBride about straightaway right. Don't let this little guy fool you. He can pull it if he wants to, and has to. 3 balls and no strikes, so Steve Carlton still struggling on the mound. as the strike and the count goes to 3-1. It was in a wild extra inning game that I'm sure the Los Angeles Dodgers can sit back and think about this winter. That Cruz hit the home run to beat him down in the dome as he walks on ball 4.
Dalton still looking for trouble. Cruz, a hard-nosed ball player. You realize next month that guy begins his 11th straight year of winter baseball. Add that to spring training every year, then the long season. Oof.
I don't know how he stands it. I really wish I could do it for that long.
I really don't. It used to be kind of a trait to where a lot of the players that would do that in the past, they would get a little tired at the end of the year. But Cruz has had a fine year, hitting .302. He's at first, to third base on balls issued by Steve Carlton. And here's Cesar Cedeno. He has walked and singled. He's 1 for 1. Carlton will keep him close. A little interesting alignment in the outfield for Cedeno, with Maddox over a little bit in right center field. They give him the gap in left center. Up the middle, Trio to Boa for 1. To first, the double play. Taylor made all the way. Took Trio right to the bag. Well, very quickly, 2 gone as you look at it one more time.
And as Dunn said, it was tailor-made. Short flip to second. Ball took a perfect bounce for Trio. And to Boa and on over. And Cedeno, a speedy runner, but running from the right side. Caught by a step.
Well, very quickly, 2 outs, and Art Howe stands in. He's 0 for 2. Ooh, got a high fastball. Gary Maddox has an interesting theory on Howe. He said against left-handers, Howe hits to the right side, and against right-handed pitchers, Howe will pull the ball. And that's where Maddox is playing, right center field, and that's exactly where he hit it to right field. There's McBride. And Houston is gone in the 5th inning. We're through 4.5 at the halfway mark. It remains the Houston Astros 1 and the Philadelphia Phillies nothing. We're back at the Vet in Philadelphia as we go to the bottom 3 in the Philadelphia order. It'll be Larry Boa, Bob Boone, and Steve Carlton in that order to face right-hander Ken Force. Houston, a run on 5 hits, no errors. The Phillies, no runs on 4 hits and 1 error. Boa singled his first time at bat, hitting .267. He finished the year with that number, 2 home runs and 39 RBIs. Really not had a lot of success against Houston pitching. First time up, slapped the ground ball, a little semi-line drive by the third baseman. That was Enos Cabell. Cabell again will move in inside the bag at third to take that bunt possibility away from Boa. And the fastball is high, 1-0.
Then you heard the sprinkling of boos relating back to an incident that occurred on a night when the Phils rallied for 3 in the bottom of the 15th to beat the Cubs.
Foul looping down the left field line, and Cruz cannot make the play. It takes one hopping back into the seats. Larry was really hurt when they talked about that possible drug scandal here with Philadelphia. He was really upset about that. He said, I've had to work all my life. You try and build up a name, and somebody comes up with some kind of a story like that. It really hurt Larry. Ground ball right side. There's Landestor. And they're getting, and just getting.
It hurt Boa so much to complete the story that he sought outside counseling to try to get it off his mind.
And nothing, not off of his mind, but nothing came of the story.
Oh, of course.
Of course not. Here's Bob Boone single. Boone struggled a little bit. He came on to pinch hit at Olympic Stadium in Montreal the other night in the second game of that series. At that time, the Philadelphia Phillies were down 4-3. McBride was at second, 2 strikes on Boone, and he hit a Woody Fryman pitch back up the middle to tie the score. And eventually, it was Mike Schmidt who hit the home run to win the championship. Look out. Was he out of the box? And no, they say no. Very quickly, the home plate umpire looked at the first base umpire, Terry Tata, and he said no. He said he was in the box when it hit him.
That's important. Otherwise, he's out.
That's exactly true.
Bill Burton comes, however, for a moment of conversation.
Doesn't make you feel terrible. Yeah, it was. Doesn't make you feel terrible to know that you played with Booney's father.
There's a lot of them getting up now.
Ray Boone.
Ray Boone, yes, sir, and he could play.
He could hit.
Hit hard, a great play by Cabell. Gets up to throw him out.
Well, he sprawled 6 feet 4 inches across the dirt part of the infield there.
You know what's developing here, though? It's one of those instances where you begin to think that these Houston Astros can fly all night and all day, sleep an hour, roll out of bed, and play a 1-0, a 2-1 ball, one runner of any kind.
It was on the carpet just behind the dirt.
Plays like that keep them close.
Well, there's 2 gone, and here's the pitcher, Steve Carlton. Still 1-0 Houston. We're in the bottom of the 5th.
You've got the kind of team Houston has. You need great defense when you have the absence of power.
Well, that's true. It goes back to that old theory of pitching speed and defense. A little low. The count goes to 2-0. Carlton struck out his first time at bat. He left a couple of men on. That was in the Philadelphia 2nd inning.
Houston's playing baseball much like the Dodgers played it in the early 60s.
Fly ball left field. There's Cruz. Out number 3, and after 5 it remains 1-0 Houston, and we'll be back with more of the National League Championship Series between the Houston Astros and the Phillies after this word from our local stations. So a look down into the Houston Astro dugout located down the third base side here at Veterans Stadium. Full house capacity crowd here tonight. Game number 1 of the National League Championship Series. And there will be game 2 tomorrow night. That will be 8 o'clock Eastern time. And, of course, the American League gets underway with Al Michaels, Billy Martin, and Jim Palmer from Kansas City. The Yankees and the Royals, that will be at 2:30 Eastern time.
And here's the youngster who hit .315 for Tucson. Hit who had 42 doubles. He's 2 for 2 tonight.
Yeah, exactly, 2 for 2. That could lead you to think about one thing. Just outside, the count 2-0. And I'm sure that Steve's been around long enough to take the most out of his warm-up pitches, but sometimes you get a little lax every now and then. And you really don't bear down on those warm-up pitches in between innings, and all of a sudden you find yourself making a mistake on the first or second one you throw.
5th inning was the only inning in which Carlton got 3 batters out. He's thrown 89 pitches. No one was left on base.
3-1.
Also may mean, too, that he being Steve Carlton and knowing who he is always looking to get ahead.
That's true. Get out, get in front, and then go to work. He's still got a good fastball. He's throwing about 90 miles an hour right now. That's foul right side, and the count goes full of 3-2. Gary Woods was originally signed by the Oakland A's. He went to Toronto in the American League expansion draft. That was back in 1976. And as a matter of fact, he was the Blue Jays starting center fielder in their very first game. Foul right side. Count remains full 3-2.
Toronto and Pete Pavese are interesting. They have a habit of giving other teams star catches. Ashby went from Toronto to Houston, and Ashby's done a good job. And Cerrone.
Look out. Did he go around? Yes, he did, says home plate umpire Bob Engel. Well, Woods strikes out as Carlton drops that breaking pitch right down at his ankles. Right there, and he tried to hold up, but he couldn't. That's that good Steve Carlton breaking pitch.
Well, that's only his 3rd strikeout, which is not a typical Carlton game.
No, it's not. Louis Pujols is 0 for 2. Get into 2 fielders' choices. Foul right side. That'll be out of play, and the count is 0-1.
The crowd is 65,277, which is the largest baseball crowd ever in the state of Pennsylvania.
Fly ball center field. Maddox coming on, and that is out number 2. Well, Pujols flies to Maddox in center field, and we go to the shortstop, Greg Reynolds.
1-run ball game. Long way to go. Carlton appearing now to settle down. And who knows, there may be the memories of those lost early inning opportunities to haunt Houston. Happened so many times.
Well, here's a big man for Carlton here with 2 outs. Your 8th place hitter at bat. Here's the man you really want. You want that pitcher to lead off the next inning. And he will do just that. Trio on 2 hops to Rose. And the Astros are gone in the 6th inning. So after 5 1/2, it remains the Houston Astros 1, the Philadelphia Phillies nothing.
Pete Rose about to come up. Ask Pete Rose a question, you get an answer. I asked him what happened between Larry Boa and the fans.
Well, the Cubs scored 2 runs in the 15th inning to go ahead 5-3, and it was a real late game, and some of the fans were really getting on all of us that night, and he just said that the fans that night were the worst fans he's ever seen in baseball, and they wrote a headline the next day saying that Boa said the Philadelphia fans in general are the worst fans. So it was really taken out of context, and I know Larry really appreciates the fans here in Philadelphia because he's had such a good career in front of him.
So Pete Rose will lead it off. As we go to the bottom half of the 6th inning, it'll be the top of the order. It'll be Rose, McBride, and Schmidt. Face right-hander Ken Force.
You've got to get a guy like Carlton when you get the opportunity. When you've got him on the hook, that's when you've got to get him. Don?
Well, that's true, Howard, and they had all kinds of opportunities. They could just not get the timely base hit. They left 7 men on through 4, 2 each in the first 3 innings. And we'll see how Ken Force will rise to that occasion. Rose is 1 for 2. He's bounced to short and he's singled. Tries to bunt, fouls it away. Enos Cabell right in shaking hands with him at third, just staring down at Rose. As Rose took a quick beat down at Enos. Just go one more time, but keep it in fair territory, and you're all mine, pal. A run on 5 hits, no errors for the Houston Astros. No runs on 4 hits, and 1 miscue for the Philadelphia Phillies. Fans for the first time tonight starting to come alive. They want to see something happen. They've seen it too many times where it's turned out on the negative side. Breaking pitch low and the count 1-1.
Remember the night they got to Bert Houghton?
They did get to Houghton. And I think Bert will be the first man to tell you that he learned the lesson right there. Just outside, as you see Pete Rose just look that ball right back into the glove of Louis Pujols. Pop foul, left side, out of play. The count 2-2. The 2-2 pitch. Just inside, off the corner, and the count 3-2. A big man, the key man right here to keep the leadoff man off base. Gives Dallas Green a chance to maneuver in a couple directions. The 3-2 pitch. Up to the hole. Reynolds backhand throws, and they can't get it.
So Petey Rose leads off an inning with a single for the 2nd time in the game. There it is again. Fine play by Reynolds. He couldn't get enough on the ball. Not with Rose, still with decent foot speed getting down there. Another angle, Don.
He makes a good play to get to the ball. It would be interesting if he would have the ball down a little bit. Instead, the throw was a little high, and the first baseman, Howe, had to come off of the bag.
Last time Petey opened the inning with a single, it was in the 3rd. He was out stealing. Great play by Reynolds on that occasion.
And that was the time that the Astros were thinking right along with the Phillies as Bake McBride was the hitter. And on the first pitch, the Astros pitched out. That's when Pujols threw out Rose going to second base, as you say, Howard, on that excellent play by Reynolds to haul down the throw and make the tag. And we're in that same position one more time, only 3 innings later. Pops him up foul, left side. In and over, 0-2.
Well, when you hit 309 with 9 homers and 87 runs batted in, you're doing something right.
Got him. So McBride strikes out. And we'll go back and take another peek at the swing of Bake McBride, waiting for Mike Schmidt. Looks like he just kind of tied him up a little bit with that pitch. It was in on
Tight pitch. That's what did it. Tight pitch.
Well, here's Mike Schmidt. And Mike asked me before the game, we generally don't make a rule of this, but he'd like to pass along his best to his little nephew, Eric Sanis, and he says, tell him that Uncle Mike says hi and get well soon, and we certainly will do that. Mike 0 for 2 has struck out, and he's bounced to short. How about that? Far and above the home run leader, and far and above the RBI leader. And more RBIs, I should say, than George Hendrick.
One of these days, that Bob Horner may hit 100 home.
He might. Fly ball, right center field, playable. Cabell and Woods. Cabell looks at Woods, I should say Cedeno, and makes the catch. Rose tags and goes about halfway and holds up. So Cedeno recovers a lot of ground out there, taking charge. 2 gone, and here's Greg Luzinski. He is 0 for 2. He has struck out, and he has popped to short. A look at Mike Schmidt, the Philly dugout. Rose remains at first. We'll keep an eye on him. Huge foul, right side. Philly dugout. 0-1 the count.
Schmidt's a little peeved with himself. He got under that ball. He didn't get as much of it as he thought he should have.
One, 2 outs. Rose at first. 1-0 Houston. Bottom of the 6th. Game number 1, the National Championship Series. High, and the count goes 1-1. If you were to look at a pitching staff, you would have to say that the Philadelphia pitching staff was set up really to order for this championship series.
Carlton tonight, Ruthven tomorrow, and the Houston staff pretty used up against the Dodgers.
Just inside.
There's Mike Schmidt.
Two balls and a strike with 2 outs. Foul right side. That's back. 2-2. The 2-2 pitch. Just missed.
Oh,
yeah. 3-2.
That was a teaser of a pitch. If it missed, it was just barely.
So now with 2 outs, the runner will be going. Rose from first base, and Howe yells in at fourth, crosses his hands, and said he will play behind. Landeskog with the 3-2 pitch is now back actually what would normally be on the outfield grass. 3-2 pitch, runner goes. Foul back. Luzinski came out of his slump a little bit for that one game, the big game. There's Landeskog. He's out on the behind that white line. It would signify the skin part of the infield, reaching the edge of the outfield grass. Runner goes. High drive, deep left field. This ball is gone.
Forget it.
Look at it again. That running fastball, it ran right through his wheelhouse, and it was gone. And he almost hit it up in the bull ring. In deep left field, he got it all. And very quickly, Philadelphia has jumped on top, 2-1 as Manny Trio stands in.
That'll make up for a lot of heartaches he's had this year.
It sure will.
In a big way.
That's cued foul, and the count goes to 0-2.
Matter of fact, Luzinski seemed in a positive frame of mind before the game today. He had a good batting practice, he said, yesterday. And he's always been a good hitter in championship series. And 3 of them, he's hit for .317 and accounted for 4 of 8 home runs by the Phillies in those series.
2-strike pitch gets him, and Philadelphia is retired in the 6th inning, but not before they scored 2 runs on that man, Greg Luzinski's home run. 2 runs, 2 hits. They leave nobody, and through 6, it is now Philadelphia 2 and Houston 1.
3-2 pitch. Swing and a long drive. There she goes. Way out of here. Home run. Greg Luzinski.
From Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia, I'm Don Drysdale with Keith Jackson and Howard Cosell. Happy you've joined us tonight. Game number 1 of the National League Playoff Series between the Houston Astros and the Philadelphia Phillies. Through 6, it's Philadelphia 2 runs, 6 hits, 1 error, with Houston a run on 5 hits, no errors. We go to the 7th. Back to the play. Here's Keith.
Ken Forge stands in against Steve Carlton. Burns a fastball in the outside corner for strike 1 in the 6th inning. First time in the ball game, Houston did not have a man on base. A double play helped them out in the 5th inning. He's now thrown 100 pitches, but he right now has a 1-run lead, and dogged competitor he is. He's trying to hang on to it, but that's in the alley going, and is cut off nicely by Maddox. Gary got over in a hurry. The ball sort of died. It didn't have the drive in it that it appeared it might. And so he holds Forsch, and Kenny has his 2nd base hit of the night.
It appeared that when that came off of the bat, that might get by and go all the way to the wall. But as it got out there, it did. It just kind of floated down. And that great speed of Maddox in center field, he was able to run it down.
To the top of the order for Landis-Stoy and then Enos Cabell. There are 5 members of this Houston 25-man roster who have been in playoffs. Joe Morgan, obviously one of them. Nolan Ryan, the other obvious one. Art Howe appeared one time with the Pirates. Landis-Stoy was with the Dodgers in '77, and Cabell played with Baltimore. And the throw back to first. They got him!
That you can't afford.
Well, there's a case of just some people going to sleep.
That's right.
And it was basically Ken Forge. As soon as that ball goes by the catcher, he has nowhere to go. Look, they're just waiting for Trio to get behind him. Bobby Lillis was trying to yell at him. The throw right there, and that's all there was to it.
Well, as you look at this play from another angle, as Keith was talking before, a graphic was showing that Houston had come from behind after trailing on 17 occasions in the late innings. What they just did belied that whole history, because they did just fall asleep, and it was Kenny Forsch. And at the worst possible time from the Houston point of view.
Landis-Stoy, 1 ball and 2 strikes.
You get a leadoff single from the pitcher, you don't waste that. It's been a game of blown opportunities for the Houston team, and one was just waiting for Philadelphia to explode. As you know, Keith, this is a game of individuals, and you've got to know every individual. The way to pitch Luzinski is high. Then he hit his love the high ball and ride it out.
Second baseman Trio. Good backhanded grab of it by Rose. 2 down.
But Luzinski can kill you on the low pitch. And that's what he picked on.
Well, Steve Carlton starting to find a little bit of a groove, even though that he's thrown a lot of pitches. That play by Trio, he didn't have to make the play that way, and he almost threw it away. That throwing off balance play, that gets more infielders in trouble than any play in the world.
In the Philadelphia bullpen, Kevin Sauché and Warren Brewster. Outside, ball 1.
I've got to believe, and I can't wait to read any comment by Steve Carlton. He's had a long layoff since his last start, and I just believe that that's really affected him through the early part of the ball game. Now he's starting to get it a little bit.
He's humming it. That's why you got to get a guy like Carlton when you've got him on the hook.
That's right. That'll go for any pitcher, but especially a guy like Carlton that has 249 wins under his major league belt.
It's the storyline of this game.
Sharply off Mike Schmidt. Over to Boa, not in time. Mike Schmidt had him played absolutely perfectly, but the ball took a wicked hop and hit him hard in the right shoulder area.
Boy, that ball did hit him hard. That just ate him up. That ball came off of the dirt. He played it off his right shoulder, just about knocked him down. Boa making the throw, but no chance to get to Speedy Cabell.
So in the world of what-ifs in 2020 hindsight, what if Kenny Forsch had not fallen asleep?
Well, sometimes you do that. You get a pitcher on base, and they forget about what they're supposed to do once they get on base. That particular time, Booney, he kind of double-cocked about 3 or 4 times, just waiting for Manny Trio to get there behind him. He should have known something was happening.
Jose Cruz, swing and a miss.
There's a case where Cruz is going after the long ball. He was out in front of that pitch.
Bruce Fleming is the second base umpire, and I mean, he is a figure act. I tell you, there's a big gap in right center.
Sharply, Rose has it on the bag. And so Houston is turned away again, as the Astros now have stranded 8 base runners in the ball game. In the middle of the 7th, Philadelphia leads it 2-1. All right, we'll move to the bottom of the 7th inning now with the Phillies leading 2-1. The line score reflected there, and it's Gary Maddox, Larry Boa, and Bob Boone. Maddox is hitless in 2 trips. And Ken Forsch. Ball is lined to left field. Base hit. Tonight, after your local news, ABC News Nightline examines today's reports that Muhammad Ali took medication causing excessive weight loss before last Thursday's heavyweight fight with Larry Holmes, and sapped his strength. Ted Koppel will talk to Ali's doctors. Howard will be in the conversation as well later tonight on ABC News Nightline after your local news over most of these ABC stations.
Disturbing report.
It is.
With that base hit, why, they stir around down in that Houston bullpen. There we go.
It looks like Dave Smith.
It is Dave. Yep. And Joe Sambito, the left-hander.
Bunted ball, third baseman comes in. Cabell covers, throws to first. And at second base now on the sacrifice is Maddox. A story on Joe Sambito. Last night, opening a bottle of champagne in the brief celebration, cut the index finger on his pitching hand, left hand. Cut it on the inside of the finger. The pitch normally would come off the outside part of the index finger as it delivers to the plate, but still, a cut is a cut is a cut, isn't it?
I guess you'd think he was a member of the New York Jets. Wesley Walker cut a webbing of his finger. Richard Todd broke 2 toes.
They've had some finger problems on that Houston ball club. Vern Rule cut his finger just reaching for a towel and a nail that the towel was hanging on. He got him. He had to come out of the Dodger game.
Ball 1 to Bob Boone. 1-1 pitch. Hit down the left field line. Cruz going toward the corner. Jose pulls it down and whips it back in quickly. Runner holds at second. 2 down.
Well, there's a fine play by Cruz. Cruz was off with a crack of the bat. Now Booney hooks that ball down the line. Cruz off in a hurry. And he's there, and he makes a fine running catch of the ball. One of the big things when you talk about Tug McGraw and what's happened in the playoff series, Dallas Green does not have the luxury of using Sparky Lyle.
Greg Gross is coming out to hit for Carlton.
Well, there's the case. He will go to his left-hander with more saves than anybody in Major League history. 152.
He wants his first game.
He does want it. what I was getting at, he could use Lyle early, then go to a right-hander and come back with McGraw. Now he's lost Sparky because he has not been eligible for the playoff series. So he's got to commit himself on McGraw pretty soon.
You can do this when you've got McGraw.
There's old lefty. Boy, I tell you, he's battled them. The big key about using Carlton tonight and not having to go to that third game in Montreal, Dallas Green can use Carlton twice in this playoff series should it go that far.
It'll be Nolan Ryan for Houston tomorrow night against Dick Ruthven. Right now, the pitch to Gross. By Ford, misses. 0-1.
Show you how Carlton kind of settled down, Keith. He threw 112 pitches overall, but he threw 76 of those in the first 4 innings. In the next 3 innings, he threw just 36.
Gross a 240 average on the year in 127 ball games. Runners going. Throw to third. Safe. Maddox stole it off the pitcher.
Yes, he did. He had a running jump that there was no way that they were going to throw him out. There he goes, and he has not even delivered the pitch yet. Pujols had no chance whatsoever. Doug Harvey moving into a good position to throw was there, but the tag was high and the foot was on the bag.
That's the 23rd base runner to steal
on Porsche. I tell you, the way these disgruntled players who don't like their manager play for them, that's the kind of manager I want.
Like I said earlier, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll be back tomorrow night at 8 from Philadelphia with the second game of the National League Series. The American League begins tomorrow afternoon at 2:30 Eastern Time. Join us on ABC for coverage of the first game of the American League Championship Series. That's a little bleeder out into short left field. And the run scores, and the Phillies lead it 3-1.
So the steal of third was very important, my friend, because I don't think he'd have tried for home had he been on second.
No, he would not. The outfield was playing very shallow, and Cruz just kind of gave up on that pitch, even though he was playing shallow, but there was no way, I don't believe it, he could have caught it anyway. He just kind of served a little chip shot out there. So now, a very, very big run is scored for Philadelphia as they lead it by a score of 3-1.
To the top of the order for Pete Rose. There's Gary Maddox putting on his hat.
Well, as you said, we'll see. There's Dallas Green. My hunch is they'll both be back.
Rose 2 for 3 tonight. He was on base when Luzinski hit the home run. That sprayed foul down the left side, out of play.
You know, I think we should mention, Keith, as Greg Luzinski hit that home run, he's hit safely in all now 12 championship series games in which he's played, and that's, of course, the longest hitting streak in championship series history. He's kept it going, and what a time for the Philadelphia Phillies.
3-1, bottom of the 7th inning. Bouncer to the right side. First baseman over to the pitcher covering in time. And the inning is over. But the Philadelphia Phillies get another big run. The lead after 7, 3-1. Back with more between the Houston Astros and the Phillies after this word from our local station. Stepping to the mound in relief of Steve Carlton for the Phillies, Tug McGraw, the you gotta believe man, making his 58th appearance of this 1980 series. McGraw just absolutely awesome in the games in Montreal, where he got a save and a win, and in combining his performance of the 2 games, he faced 16 hitters and struck out 9. And I talked to him saying, Tug, my gosh, you'll never wear out.
I hope not. This game's too much fun to ever get too old to play it. I just hope I can go on forever. I know that's unrealistic, but so what?
Have you ever pitched any better than you pitched over the last month?
I tell you, I've felt as well before, but the results have never been as good, and I don't really understand it completely. But I'm going to have all winter to think about it, and right now the main thing is to try to stay in my tree, not fall out of this tree until we get through the playoffs and, of course, hopefully the World Series.
We had one.
He's a happy guy, lively, Never forget 1965, Don, when the Mets were a pathetic thing, and Tug outpitched Koufax, beat Sandy. Do you remember the game?
He still says that that's probably one of his biggest thrills in baseball.
He's got a pitch right now to Cesar Cedeno, Art Howe, and Gary Woods. 3 right-handers, 3 solid hitters. Cedeno has walked, singled, and hit into a double play. Tug McGraw. Ball 1 to Cedeno.
I think one of the big things about Tug this year is that he's been getting people out with his fastball. He's got an excellent screwball. He says he doesn't know why, but he's going to stay with it.
To Schmidt at third. 1 out.
Anybody doesn't think Schmidt can play that sack is crazy.
Good glove there. I think the Phillies to a man will say that they think that they are better prepared coming into this championship series than any time in the past.
Dickie Knowles and Ron Reed in the Philadelphia bullpen right now, backing up McGraw. Ball is hit well to center by Art Howe. Center fielder Maddox drifts back, makes it look easy. 2 down. A 65,000-plus crowd. Largest ever to see a baseball game in the state of Pennsylvania. I mean, ever. Anywhere. Starting to kind of hum now. It's after that big roar they had back 2 innings ago. Sensing they might be almost on the verge of watching history here, in that the Phillies have won only 1 ball game in the entire franchise history in postseason play. Ball 1 to Gary Woods.
I'll tell you what McGraw's been doing, Don. He's been getting the block of the plate.
He's had good control.
No, he will not give you the good pitch.
Fouled off by Woods. Only Grover Cleveland Alexander ever pitched a win for the home folks in Philadelphia.
I'd have to guess that the biggest majority of these people here are seeing history tonight, since the other one was, what, 1915?
1915. I remember that game.
You were covering.
1 ball and 2 strikes.
Keith was with me.
You were interviewing Grover Cleveland, weren't you? Before the game.
Ball is hit sharply. Trio flags it down. Inning's over. McGraw gets him in order and comes bouncing off the field, holding up 3 fingers. That means we need 3 more. All right, it's Bake McBride, Mike Schmidt, and Greg Luzinski. And bouncing ball to the right side for the first baseman, Art Howe. 1 out. I should tell you this. The Philadelphia Phillies are 12 wins, 4 losses in 1-run ball games since September 1. So they have not been giving them away. Winning 12 out of 16.
This team is swinging. 18 of the last 25 of them has swung at the first pitch. That relates to the scouting report on Kenny Forsch. Tries to get ahead of the batter immediately. They know he's around that plate.
Mike Schmidt hitless in 3 trips. Just low and away. 3-1. The Phillies lead. I'm saying that Donna hasn't had a chance to come to many ball games this year. Slider misses. Low. 2 balls and no strikes. He comes outside. It was Gary Maddox stealing 3rd and then scoring on the dunker by Gross that made the big difference. Made it 3-1 instead of 2-1. Maddox does have the green light to go when he feels secure on it. From Dallas Green. Inside corner. Good pitch. Full count. 3-2. Mike Schmidt gets a base on ball.
Force pitching rather carefully to Schmidt. With the 65,000-plus crowd roaring, here comes the bull, Greg Luzinski.
Interesting graphic, isn't it? Luzinski up there with such as Bench and Garvey.
Greg's home run giving Philadelphia the lead. Back in the 6th inning, 2-1. He fouls that one back.
Remember, he had Luzinski, tried to get him with 2 high pitches, and then he came in below the belt. And that's the one Luzinski counted.
1 out. Mike Schmidt at first. High in the air to left field, but plenty of room for Jose Cruz. 2 down.
The insurance run, remember, gathered in the 7th inning when Maddox, running on his own, stole third. He'd been on second. Maury Wills spent much time in his book on how much easier it is to steal third than it is to steal second.
Manny Trio, the second baseman now, with Schmidt on first.
And unable to score on a looping short single to left. But Rick Rose is a pinch hitter.
Manny looking for his first hit. Hits it well to right. But the right fielder sails over there, and Gary Woods puts it away for the 3rd out. So Mike Schmidt is left on the bases. And we'll go to the top of the 9th inning with the Phillies leading the Astros 3-1. The line score in the ball game at the vet tonight in Philadelphia pretty much tells you the story, except they've made some defensive changes. Del Unser has gone to left field now, replacing Greg Luzinski. And Tug McGraw is on the mound in relief of Steve Carlton, trying to save it for him. He will pitch to Luis Pujols. Kerry Poole is in the on-deck circle to hit for the shortstop Reynolds, and then it'll be the pitcher's spot. Pujols looks at a strike from McGraw. He has been on base twice on fielder's choice, and he has hit a fly ball to center field. Big swing, strike 2.
If the game ends this way, the storyline clearly is blown scoring opportunities in the early innings when Carlton was uncertain. Look at that, Kyron.
Yeah, they haven't given them away late.
All of those at home. That's when Houston could have applied an early crusher. They couldn't do it. The one pitching mistake to Luzinski, then the insurance run on Maddox's steal of third, which set it up. And if there was a critical mistake, apart from the blown opportunities, it occurred in the 7th inning when Kenny Forsch led off with a single and then fell asleep and was picked off first, because subsequently Cabell cracked a single off Schmidt's chest, and the opportunity had been lost.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Foul ball. We had mentioned earlier that Tug has used his fastball more. And part of it is a result of the weight training program that he's exposed himself to. Every professional athlete, when you get into a later stage of your career, starts looking for ways to keep himself home. Tug went looking, and he found something. And right now, you have a 3-ball, 2-strike count on the leadoff man for the Houston Astros at the top of the 9th inning, Pujols. The pitch is up high to Luis. He walks. The leadoff man is aboard. And Terry Poole is coming to the plate. We get a base runner now for Luis. Pujols at first base. Dave Bergman goes in to run. two up in the Philadelphia pen right now. That would be Reed and Soche. Terry Poole is a left-handed hitter coming out to face the left-handed pitcher Tug McGraw. He had 13 home runs to lead the ball club in homers for the year. And he hits a high fly ball drifting out into left field, easy for Unser. And so Bill Burden, going against the baseball odds, does not have it pay off as Poole lies out to left. One out. Now let's see who we get in the pitcher spot. Jeff Leonard. Jeff Leonard's batting average, not all that much. He had 3 home runs. He played in 87 games. But he had 7 doubles and 5 triples.
Tomorrow night, Ruthven will be pitching for the Phillies. Joe Morgan is expected back in the lineup for the Astros.
The Express will go in for Houston. Nolan Ryan. Big swing by Jeff Leonard. 4-strike one as the ball is foul tipped and rolled away.
Although oddly, Landeskog, when he's in there, the Astros have a better winning record than when Morgan is in there. That's deceptive, because down the stretch run, Morgan was just tremendous, and he matters to this team. A, in terms of power, B, in terms of leadership and spirit.
1 out. Bergman at first base. And Leonard fouls it off again at the plate to make it strike 2.
You just looked at a graphic on Leonard, and sometimes, you know, Billy Martin has always said batting averages are deceiving. This kid's got better power than his statistics show. But McGraw really put him away.
Took that screwball to him. Leonard chased it and struck out swinging. That's 2 down.
Feeble swing, but totally fooled by the pitch.
Landeskog comes. ABC News Nightline with Ted Koppel will pursue a story relative to Muhammad Ali taking medication that might have helped in that heavy weight loss, excessive weight loss, perhaps. That's the story they will pursue on ABC News Nightline, following your local news here on ABC. Ted's a bulldog. When he gets somebody in front of a microphone, he asks hard questions. The pitch. Ball 1.
Teddy. It's a brilliant man.
1 ball, no strike. Bergman cozy at first with 2 out. A 3-1 Philly lead. The ball is hit sharply. It's a trio. Manny has it. Throws to first. Phillies win.
So that's the way it was on this October night, as the Phillies came from behind, trailing 1-0 against Kenny Forsh, who pitched well, but not well enough. In the early innings, the Astros dominating, but they didn't capitalize, and that cost them the game. 1 pitching mistake to Luzinski. We'll be back with more of the National League Championship Series between the Houston Astros and the Phillies after this commercial and a word from our local stations.